This morning's live stream was full of a lot of important lessons. This update right here is going to be just the same. We are seeing some really interesting price action. We're going to go over the S&P 500. We're going to take a look at what happened on the Nasdaq with that buy signal into the close. We're going to see what is going on the dollar as it was not able to break above resistance. We're going to be checking in on gold holding 1900, silver getting destroyed today. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're going to put all the pieces together and make sure everyone stays on the right side of the market. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Let's going to start off with the S&P 500. We could see that we came into the support down here earlier in the session and have since traded all the way up but into resistance. Right now, the S&P 500 is closing on this trend line resistance. You could see that this was an area of support. Now, the resistance that we're closing into right now is not the big one. This prime trend line over here, that one is brighter. That was the big level. This is really the heavy resistance we're watching on the way up. You could see 33.39. This was the important level to watch. Once that broke to the downside, that is now the important level to watch on the upside. If overnight you have if we continue really overnight, riding all the way up to the 33.39 resistance, which as you can see is trend line resistance. You can see is also horizontal resistance. A rejection of that area will absolutely bring a sell signal. We are below critical levels. Both the upward sloping trend line, which was support all the way up, is now resistance, and that horizontal resistance. Okay, that's not it. By the way, in order for the technical picture on the equity markets to be improved, we have to trade above that level. 33.39, trading back above it. At that point, you could have looked to attack on the long side, no doubt about it. Right now, we are absolutely structurally in jeopardy. We've broken critical levels, not looking good. You're looking to sell resistance. Are you into any resistance right now? Right? Look, follow my mouse over here. You could see this little bit of resistance right over here, and then follow it to the right, and you could see that area was support. You could see that coincided with that trend line support right there, and then you could see the touch over there. 32.95, right? Is it possible that overnight we peak as high as 32.95 and then get back below this trend line over here? If that happens, that's a sell signal. If London makes a lower low than this trend line over here, that's a nice looking sell signal on the S&P 500. The Nasdaq's a little bit different right now. The Nasdaq is actually closed very bullish over here. Let me take a look and show you. This morning on the live stream, by the way, you see this red line over here? We'll start there. That on the daily time frame, we closed above it. Therefore, that is not broken resistance. That level held as support. That's our first clue right over here. Now I'm going to drop back down to the 8-hour time frame with you. You can see over here, the second thing I want you to focus on is this channel. You see that was the resistance of the channel. Here was the support of the channel. We've also closed above that. We closed above two levels. This morning in the live stream, I said why price was all the way down here. Price was all the way down here. I said if we close up today, if we close up above the high of that price bar, that's a buy signal. That buy signal triggered. You have a lot of people caught on the wrong side of the market right now. Bulls get really they like to give a lot of chatter when things are going their way. Most of the time, things aren't going their way, right? Listen, I love to trade both sides of the market. You all know I cleaned up earlier in the year, right, over here in late February, early March. Come on the downside, a lot of money was made. And then over here, it got a little tough. This was early into May and all through May, early June. At that point, there was still some shorts being shot off. It was from here. It was in the middle of June up until we reached our target profit over here, beginning of August. I said the markets are now risky. The markets are now way too risky. Right? Equity markets are risky. We met all our profit objectives until last week when we started bouncing off this trend line, the prime trend line. The risk to reward was there to begin taking shorts. We had a major critical breakdown on the markets. S&P still is very, very bearish. S&P, you could be looking for the shorts that I just pointed out to you, right? A test and a rejection of 33.39. Or right over here, take this out during London below this trend line over here. That also, the lower low than the Asian session. That's why I trade the 8-hour. That's a short there also. Nasdaq's a different picture. Nasdaq actually looks bullish now. Not only bullish, you've got a lot of people caught on the wrong side of the market right over here, right? That was the buy signal that we gave in this morning's live session. If you haven't watched it, watch it after this session. When price was all the way down here, I said if we close back above this horizontal 10,894, as well as the high from the London session, and back above this trend line over here, this channel, that's a buy signal. It triggered. Watch out. You're not out of the woods. You have over here, right? This was all support. Follow my mouse. All support on the way up. By the way, this is going to get we ought to look at gold, the dollar. This is such an important session. Stay with me. Bitcoin, look over here. That was all support. That's now resistance. Same thing over here. Horizontal resistance, 11,066. It's a big level in this area over here. Right now, you got to be targeting that. You got to be looking to take some profit if we're able to reach up over there overnight. Look at that. That was resistance, and then over here became support. It's a big level, and it's a prime trend line over there. That's a big deal, okay? You have to clear above that in order to say, all right, once again, the Nasdaq is actually looking bullish. It's not looking bullish right now. It's looking mixed. It's looking mixed, but it gave a buy signal, right? Guess what? It's never easy to buy or sell. You got to lean in when it's the time to lean in. That was a great signal over there. Anyone watching from early in the morning was well aware of it. It's not just that. Look at the triple Qs over here. They are into resistance. Follow my mouse. Not even going to put it in there. Follow my mouse. You see the two peaks over here, right? And then you see over here the price closed above that area. Where my mouse is, that's resistance. There's still a lot of work to do before we regain the bullish structure we had in the markets. They're not looking bullish. They're not looking bullish. S&P's looking bearish. Nasdaq gave a buy signal, but not yet looking bullish. All right, just want to be clear. I want to keep everyone on the right side of the trade. You have a lot of people right now caught on the wrong side over here. You have a lot of people caught on the wrong side over here right now. Now, Apple. I want to point out Apple today. You could see what happened over here. By the way, come to the daily time frame. I'd say it over and over again, right? Look what happened over here. We're back closing above this resistance line. What does that mean? That now becomes support again. Now it has yet to be tested, right? It is yet to be tested. That could fade tomorrow and close back below it, and that would be a rejection targeting much lower. But right now, it's kind of it's improved to a certain degree. It's bearish structure, losing the support line over here. It's regained it. It hasn't tested it yet, right? It still needs to come back and test it, see if it flips it into support and resumes upwards. That will be a successful test. But right now, it's pretty clear that the bearish nature has definitely, the pendulum has shifted. And we're much more neutral, even leaning a little bit bullish over here, enough to give over here on the Nasdaq that buy signal right over there at 10,919. Now, what else is going on? The dollar, right? We're tracking the dollar this morning. I was very clear for this to be a breakout. A couple of things have to happen. The first thing that has to happen over here, we needed to close above 93.64. That didn't happen. So far, that didn't happen. You could see that we are below 93.64. It was not a successful breakout to the upside by any means. What happens overnight? If overnight you're able to come up and trade above the high of session of New York, that's coming in at 93.77. At that point, that's a buy signal. By the way, let me go ahead and highlight this little trend line I added over here after today's price action. Just going to highlight it really quick just so you can get a good look at it. You could see that possibly over here, right? Instead of a horizontal 93.64, you could see these two lines connected. That connects back to this line. That connects back to this line over here, over there, support, and over there. So that line is interesting. I'm going to focus on my horizontal lines right now. It's the high of today during New York. If you take that out during the London session, that is a buy signal. Now, does that look like it's going to, who knows? Right now, we're back in no man's land. Plain and simple, except I'm changing no man's land to that slight little trend line from this line right there. Look, we were looking at horizontal line, that 93.64, and between this support line over here, this is all no man's land. We're still back into no man's land. We never got a breakout, except I'm just changing it up over here. You got to follow what's happening, right? And that's now no man's land in between there. We closed below 93.64, right? It's definitely back into no man's land. I am just now upward sloping line. This is a broadening wedge over here. By the way, do you see this pattern over here? Is that a possible bottoming pattern? It could be. It remains the same. We need to get the breakout, the retest, the resumption up is our signal, right? We're always watching for what's happening over here. You could see gold over here closed above. Everyone knew this level, 1900. Gold closed above 1900. It's not looking as bullish as it was before it lost 1900 on the spike. Nevertheless, it closed back above the support line. I'm still holding some paper gold over here, not getting rid of that until we close below it. However, I just want to add this line in for you. Look over here. Look where the bodies on the 8-hour time frame closed over there. Look where that area of little bit of resistance where you came back down to, and look where today's bottom. Is that a level that we want to watch from now on? I mean, until you trade below it, until I trade below it, I'm not letting go of my gold position. I'll tell you that much. But at the same time, this is technically not looking as good as it once was. Why? We lost this trend line over here. This was support going all the way back since the March low. All right, we touched it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and now lost it. That means on the way up, I have to be very, very, let's say, cautious, because this should be resistance now. There's a good chance on the way up that's resistance, and if we're rejected over there, not a good sign. Not a good sign. Have to watch as we get back up. That's coming in, by the way, overnight, somewhere around 1943. That's becoming a big level. You could also see that is local what? Resistance, support, resistance, 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 support, resistance. That's local resistance right now as well. So that's an area for this to say, okay, gold is now looking technically in better shape, that we need to trade above. Nevertheless, since we closed above 1900, 1904, I'm not letting go of my position, right? You got twice now. If I go on the daily time frame, what do you see over here? Twice now we wicked below that area, and twice the sellers couldn't continue the momentum down, right? They don't have much down over there. A lot of buyers stepping in over there. By the way, anyone who thinks that they have a clear idea what's going on in the markets right now, come on. Right now, I mean, look over here. This is quant versus quant, JP Morgan. No one knows what's going on over here. Anyone that says they have a clarity, and usually that comes from the bear side, bears are full of clarity, right? And why am I knocking on the bears right now? Because as soon as the markets, have a little bit of a correction, the bears rear their head. But the fact of the matter is that you have people since the March low who have been looking for selling, and you're just completely on the wrong side of the market. Right over here, we had our break. Here's what I said. All right, now we could look for the sell side. And we are looking for the sell side overnight, right? But I don't need to be like we're taking out the March lows. Who knows, right? Have that type of mindset. I know nothing. Let price show me what to do. Nasdaq gave a buy signal right over there today into the close, and it was a good one. It was one that we talked about early this morning in the live session as being a possibility when everyone else thought the sky was falling. Look over here. This is the area to watch out. This is the resistance to watch out. Get back above this. Nasdaq's looking pretty good. I said if we get a bounce, the Nasdaq should lead. That's happening. Now, of course, we corrected further and broke critical support. Nothing's looking easy. Nothing is looking good. And the dollar is completely in no man's land. What about Bitcoin? right? Bitcoin lost the 10,570 support over here. Now, it hasn't closed on the daily time frame yet. It has not closed. It could still trade above it. Let me tell you, though, I am not selling. When I say paper Bitcoin, I mean Bitcoin on exchanges. I'm not talking about Bitcoin held on BlockFi. I'm not talking about Bitcoin held in a hardware wallet, right? Over here, I think at this point, anyone looking to swing trade Bitcoin should hold the position unless we lose. I'm going to call it down over here. Do you see these little touches down over here? We traded above it. So even today's low in this whole area right over here, you decide, right? 10,150. Now, if we break here, how long do you think, or what that would look like if we broke over here? I don't know. It could be brief. We could see spikes, but I'll tell you what, I would be targeting the CME gap to close at 9,600 at that point. And I would also be looking to lean into this trend line. I would have orders waiting right over here. If I exited over here, I would have orders waiting automatically in this area. And I would have them ahead of time because there's a possibility if we spike down that price action is too quick for you to be able to go ahead and manually get involved in that. That's Bitcoin over here. The markets are really in a state of, nothing is clear. This is when it takes everyone to be extra sharp, extra alert. That means you have to let go of your bias. Simply let go of your bias. Right now we have mixed signals over here. S&P is looking very weak. Continues to look weak over here, right? In order for the S&P to regain the bullish structure that it had in the market, it needs to trade above 33.39. This red resistance over here, which coincides with that trend line, our prime trend line over there. It's well below it, which means on the way up, a rejection, we're looking to sell. That's a great spot to lean in on the short side. Now, we all know what that means. We look for the retest, and the resumption is our sell signal, not into the resistance, because you could trade above and never get a sell signal. That's how we protect ourselves. Same thing on the downside over here. If we only trade over to here, make a lower low during London, that sets up a nice sell signal as well. This is now resistance. This is now resistance that we're closing at so far on the S&P 500. Nasdaq has a completely different shape. We on the daily time frame, we didn't close below that support held. These are wicks. It only matters to break a support and resistance what happens on the daily time frame. That held, and it held clearly. We need to look at silver. We'll look at silver in a second. And it got back into that channel as well. So now you have a lot of sellers on the wrong side. As you come into that resistance, right? Do you sell? Take a little bit of profit if you went long over here, as we pointed out this morning. Take a little bit of profit. Tighten up your stop loss to break even. You're not sitting on a free trade. And maybe we break back above. If we break up back above, then you're targeting up here, all the way up here into that resistance. We'll talk about that tomorrow if that's happening. Okay? Right now, have a little bit take a little bit of profit into the resistance. Hold the majority of the trade. Move your stop loss to break even. Let's see if we get to push the level. If you get rejected here, would I sell the Nasdaq? I would not. I would not sell the Nasdaq over there. Why? It's resistance, because right now it has gotten back above this channel over here, and it closed above this important support level, wicking above it. It would have to be a close below that area that would get me attracted to selling the Nasdaq. Okay, so different situation happening right now on the Nasdaq and on the S&P 500. Before we look at silver, let's just check in really quick on the Dow. And the only thing that I want you to notice is, do you see that support level that broke today? We're closing below it. That's bearish. A rejection here, right? Meaning we don't trade above it. Now what happens, Jordan? What happens if we trade up to 27,186? Yeah, this line over here, that's still resistance. You know, you got to be flexible. You're a trader. You know what? If we're rejected over here in this area, though, start making lower lows on the 8-hour time frame. That's a sell signal over here all day long. One to be looking to take out today's low, and the support down over here, and maybe a bigger sell-off. Not as attractive as the S&P either. Not as attractive as the S&P. The S&P is the place to look for the shorts right now, in my opinion. If they trigger, and again, Nasdaq actually triggered a buy. Interesting, right? Markets are mixed. Anyone who thinks they have a clear read, they're just playing games with themselves. That's the quote of the day. Anyone who thinks they have a clear read right now is just playing games with themselves. What happened on silver today? We lost some really important level over here of 26. We lost it. Super bearish, right? What happened though? 24.50 is the place to lean in. It remains so. That's the next support. Let me change this up. This is now resistance on the way up, 26. Technically, it's not looking good long term. I am super, super, super bullish on precious metals, silver included. Now, we all know on the downside, just as in the upside, silver's going to have bigger moves. Super volatile today. I don't even know. Was that 11, 12%? Look what happened, though. 24.50, this is support. We closed above it. If you resume off over here, right, and start making higher highs, let's say the Asian session, trades around $25 or below, and then the London session comes and makes a higher high, that's a place to lean in. It's an aggressive buy. I wouldn't do it. It's aggressive. It's the place to lean in if you're interested. By the way, if you're dollar cost averaging, today's a day to add, right? So I think I'm going to wait here for silver to improve itself technically, and it's got a lot of work to do. It's not looking good right now. Right now, it's not looking good. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be able to regain this damage. It's got to trade back above 26 before we even start talking about leaning into buy. Would I take the buy here at 24.50 if we resumed up? I mean, I personally wouldn't, but the whole idea of sharing the analysis with you is just to provide some type of clarity to help you make the informed decisions you need to make and whether or not it's attractive to you. There are a couple of things to look at, though, quickly on FX. The Australian dollar, US dollar here, this is something to watch overnight. As this was all resistance. Now it's all support. You see the touches of support. We closed at that line, a resumption up tomorrow during London. This is a hold. That's a buy, a possible buy in the Australian dollar, US dollar. It's not just there. The same exact pattern happened over here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. You could see this prime trend line over here, the horizontal support, closing it back above it and resuming above it. That's a place to possibly lean in. At the same time, a rejection here, right? Do you take the counter trend move over here? Because long term, this is a super downtrend, right? That's a super downtrend that opens up the trade to both sides. A rejection here of this trend line, losing this support, making a lower low during London. That opens up a short. I like it both ways overnight. Also, the Swiss franc, Japanese yen holding important support level down over here at 114. A resumption up also during London offers a buying opportunity, one to watch. The markets are alive. There is always opportunity. Gain that clarity so you're there to take advantage of what you want to take advantage instead of chasing momentum and instead of having that fear of missing out, that FOMO, right? So I hope that's a good look for you. It's a good look for me. An important place in the markets right now. Crucial. Here we are at the DXY, and crucial we stay on the right side of this trade. Some people are like, well, the dollar is going to strengthen from here on in. Yeah, I could see why. I could see that the people have a lot of trust in the U.S., especially with the election coming up. Let's see if they're able to continue that smooth transition of power or not. What kind of foreigners are going to be really, interested in holding dollars if the U.S. is not able to peacefully transition on in November? We'll see. You better be aware of that, though, right? What happens over here, right? Well, everyone knows I was dollar bull, kept everyone on the right side of that trade until we lost that area. We've been bearish since. Now we're at an area where maybe we're going to flip bullish, but not until we get that technical confirmation. It's all about following the charts. It's all about staying on the right side of the trade. It's all about working together. I'll see you all later. Talk to you soon.